All right, click the links to support channel over, but join channel here over at Subscribestar or buy my coffee, the various other links. So first of all, let me do my little virtue signaling to the BLT crowd, which I know is not listening to this video like at all. It's this kind of deals with trying to market something to an audience that has not materialized with the BLT stuff. You're just going to have to accept that part of respecting diversity of thought is that there are people who don't want to see those kind of themes in movies. It's not finding an audience, and it doesn't mean anything deeper than that. It's just the Venn diagram of the people who identify as BLT. It might be from, back in my day, it was like 2 to 5%, maybe. Nowadays, say at the minimum, it's 2% to as high as you want to go. Everyone in schools now is like, we're all somewhere on that spectrum. It's like, okay, sure. Okay, so the spectrum's now up to 50%. Yeah. Now I'm somewhere on the oppression hierarchy. Okay. So it's somewhere from there, 2 to 40%, whatever. So now that's a Venn diagram. Now let's overlap that with the people who want to see BLT themes in movies in the background. Oh, it doesn't seem to overlap for some reason. Oh, that's weird. So that's weird. Why isn't it overlapping? I don't know. Ultimately, you'll never know. But it's not. Either the money comes in for these movies or not. And one of the things people talked about with the Eternals was the kissing scene in the background. Oh no, that was some Star Wars. There was a couple movies that had kissing scenes in the background of the same, people kissing. The Eternals was two dudes with a kid. That just didn't click with a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, the movie wasn't great, but you got to respect that people have different values than you. If you're BLT, it's like you can't force people to have the. It'd be a very boring world if everyone agreed with each other. Anyway, that is part of tolerating diversity of thought. So Mxrxism Ruined Disney, and Victoria Alonso was just a useful tool. So this is kind of pretty loosely about Disney. She left Disney. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change where Disney is going. Nice pantsuit, Hillary. They're full mask off bullshit propaganda. She might not have been the right fit because she was publicly speaking about internal affairs and about her bosses at Disney. I think that was the issue. That's just not professional. I don't think she was fired for being too woke. I think you can forget about that concept. I know there was an issue with Chapek and Iger, and Iger released a statement later about Disney, and people took that to mean one thing. Just forget about that. That's just. I think that's just right wing copium. It's better to face facts. And like Disney, Amazon, Netflix, Cartoon Network, those are all just parasitical demon companies. You shouldn't be paying for any of that kind of stuff. And like exposing that stuff to kids is child abuse. You should have been off board, all that kind of stuff a long time ago. This is what Disney is now. It's this full culture of bullshitism. They have different values than your values. You might as well just come to accept that. They're just going to replace her with someone else. I think the only difference is that they're going to find someone who can keep her mouth shut and let the press release, public relations guy issue press releases, so they're all on the same page. Like speaking out of turn, speaking out of school, whatever about your bosses, that's insane. That's not accepted anywhere. But apparently she didn't get the memo on how to act like an adult. So even in SJW companies, you're still expected to have decorum and follow the protocol for the talking points. And Alonso has got to be in her 50s, and she seems to sort of be believing the SJW hype a bit too much, no matter how far left the company is. And Disney is definitely it's not a company. It's a company that's worth billions, but it's not. Its articles of incorporation, its goal for its cause for existing is not whatever they have written down 80 years ago. It's to push this ideology. It's to push Bolshevism. That is its new goal. It's not seeking a return on investment. It's seeking to push these beliefs. And like, no matter what you think of the person saying these words, you can look at what Disney has presented over the past 20 years, and even there's something else going on here. Like these things. You can lift this. You can slowly part these seven veils, and you start taking a glance at it. What was that science fiction movie? Short story, and he sees the creature behind it's an alien intelligence, and he sees the creature, and the last line in the short story was, "It's got a forked tail, cloven hooved," or something like that. I forgot who wrote that. Was it the guy who wrote Warworld? Harry Harrison, maybe. Anyway, so she's in her 50s, and she just doesn't quite quite understand that you're not allowed to talk about your own company like that. And that's something weird I'm noticing with older SJWs. They're acting more childish. It's the window for the participation trophy left-wing echo chamber, but the toxic worldview has been happening so long that you've got people who are now in their 50s who don't know you don't air your dirty laundry. You don't talk about your company, your spouse, your kids. And I don't know if you saw that Disney Zoom call where they're talking about the Florida bill and DeSantis and all the kind of those issues. And these women who are in their 40s and 50s and talking about their BLT kids, and it's just like, what the heck are you doing talking about your kids? That's insane. But then you look at the culture now, like there's a TV show, the jazz TV show, or I don't know if that's Learning Channel or on YouTube or something. And you look at that, like you look at when they started that show and what they did to that kid and how old they were when that thing started. This the West is in for a reset, and it's not going to be the soft landing. So grab that. Make sure you've got a couple 100 pounds of rice and a couple 100 pounds of freedom pills for your liberty devices. Anyway, so you're supposed to act like I say rice because it has a really long shelf life. Just, put in some plastic bins, like a couple 100 pounds. It's good to have extra. You're supposed to act like a professional. I've done prepping videos for Bit Chute, and honestly, they're a lot of fun. You represent Disney. You're not a lower level employee who's not in the public eye. You got to act like an adult, and there are many left-wingers who are surprised when they get fired for acting like an emo girl on her period. Disney is fully invested in the destruction of the West using the cultural Marxist brainwashing techniques. They support brainwashing kids into this agenda, which is timely now because of what just happened, and I'm going to tread very carefully there. What happened last night. They're pushing what can only be described as a satanic agenda to turn kids into soldiers for Moloch. They've brainwashed kids into this insane first world delusion of thinking they live in this nonsense world of Bolshevik fantasy land, and after the revolution, comrade, things will be different. It will be a worker's paradise. Can I familiarize you with history? Oh, those were written by the records of progress. The communist dialectic predicts something differently. My generation was the communist generation. I don't know if I guess people weren't paying attention to that, but if you're under a certain age, like you just didn't grow up under the shadow of communism and hear the stories of people who are still alive now who would be happy to tell you. And it's not all one-sided, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of horrors of communism, the atrocities of the Bolsheviks. Like the stories are out there if you want to listen to them. And who's that guy? He's a Russian. He's a guy who's Russian. He's in his 40s or 50s. And he does these, I think Vlad or something, he does these street interviews, and he talks to Antifa, and he tries to tell them about it, and he goes, hey, I'm actually from Russia, you want me to talk about it? I'm like, we don't really want to, but I've got personal experience, my parents, my grandparents, I left, I can tell you all about it. Like, no, we don't want anything that goes against the dialectic. Okay, well, so it's a religion. It's like, yeah, it's been a religion the whole time. So it's stuff that only happens in the first world where the bread and circuses always need to be updated to keep the cattle distracted. The puppet masters don't want you focusing on anything important. And, calling them masters, there's really no better term to describe that. Not because we should accept it, but because we should not accept people who have so much control over the discourse. They don't want you focusing on anything important, so they get kids focused on pronouns to think it's super vitally important. If they just fix this one issue, then things will be great. It's a myopic all-or-nothing thinking. In worlds where kids go out and they farm or they herd goats, they're not worried about pronouns or Disney movies having BLT scenes in the background, like for the Disney Star Wars movies, or the Eternals had two dudes and a kid. And you're just going to, listen, if you accept diversity of thought and tolerance for different viewpoints, you got to accept that people just don't want to see that. Oh, but they need to see it. They should be forced to see it or they'll be punished. Okay, but now you're the bad guys. You're the authoritarians. You're compelling speech. Like, what do you think the pronouns? Like, the pronoun thing didn't come out of a vacuum. It came out of that school of thought, which I don't know if I can say. It sounds like a hot dog. Because it's a wedge issue used to destroy society. Because think about it, what it is. It's compelled speech. You introduce yourself and you tell them your pronouns. You're saying this is a wedge issue between two people, two strangers. And it's putting your politics on your sleeve because it's forcing the other person to say, oh, I don't do that. The pronouns, my worldview is pronouns are sex-based. And it's like, oh, okay, it puts a stop on the whole, on whatever interaction those two humans are having, where like pronouns are sex-based, gender is derived from the sex, there's only two. That's what the pronoun thing is. And the kids who are pushing this stuff, they have no idea that they're just useful idiots. They have no freaking... So Frankfurt School, Saul Alinsky, How to Destroy Nations, you familiar with that? Oh, those are far right-wing dog whistles. No, those things actually all exist. You can go read the writings yourself if you were. Oh, I'm not going to do that. That's all far right-wing. No. The left-wing people wrote these things themselves. I'm not going to educate myself. I have a worldview. All right, well, I mean, is what it is. Anyway, so I mean, freedom pellets and white rice. Like you want to have and probably a water filtration kit too. And, it's better to have it and not need it. So none of this stuff is real. It's just a tool for the cattle. So they waste their energy worrying about pointless crap instead of examining the inflating dollar of the Federal Reserve, or why we don't have a sound financial system, or why the West is in debt. And even when you bring up those hot words, probably for the YouTube algorithm, of the reserves and currencies and gold standards and things like that, like people hear that and they just start tuning out, and you go, no, actually those are vitally important things. Oh yeah, but I don't like where it's going. It remains important. So when you look at the big picture, I can't edit these videos, so it's like I have to be so careful. I mean, I could if I bought a computer, but this stuff's expensive. Anyway, so when you look at the big picture and the energy invested in stuff like pronouns are actually important issues about issues of the West and their currency, or, the standards for precious metals and whatnot, or why the West seems to be indebted. It's like the whole West is all in debt. Who holds the... Anyway, you can see which one's important, so they keep your focus away from anything important, like a cat with a laser pointer. They build this false construct of globalist illusion that is so powerful that these brainwashed people think they have to do violence against their perceived enemies, in this case, Christian children, and 3 Christian adults. It's like Antifa going through middle class, yeah, because those are the people who hold power in society. The blonde Christians. If 5 of the 6, one was a black guy to the credit of the story, Christian guy, but the 5 of the 6 were blonde women, who another person deleted, because they have this narrative in their head. It's like, yeah, the Christians are the ones who hold all the power in the world. You can see that by the narrative that the society allows. My brothers in Christ and Odin, if the Christians held power in the West, they wouldn't allow that narrative. A child could see that. So why can't the left-wing kids? Oh, yeah, that's as far as I go with that. So it's like Antifa going through middle-class residential areas. Why don't you go to your politicians to seek peaceful legal redress of grievance, or the bankers, or the people who control the social media companies? No. We're going to go through an upper middle class neighborhood where they have a $102,000 Tesla and a $56,000 BMW. Okay, that may be impressive to you, and those are great cars and all, and the house is nice, but it's still upper middle class. Those people don't own the businesses, the social media companies, the banks, because you don't have access to those people's homes, because they live in gated communities, and like hard gated communities where there are people there with their own 223s to keep you out. Like, you're not getting access to Bill Gates or Elon Musk's abode, because those dudes there are people who will very much keep you away from there. Yeah, we're going to go to upper middle class neighborhoods in Oregon and Washington. That doesn't make any sense. We're going to do it anyway and shout very loudly. Anyway, so nothing the left does make sense until it all makes sense. They never get over target. The goal is to red herring people away from the target. And when they start to get close, like with Occupy Wall Street, they just get subverted and bribed to go from class war to focus on other issues. So now they believe Christians are the true enemy, or they block a street to keep the contractor and his pickup truck from going to work. They think that the contractor in the $60,000 extended cab 4x4 with his tools in the back, it's a $60,000 truck. He's a white guy with a baseball cap and sunglasses. He's our oppressor. That's okay. $60,000 truck. That's great. Let's take him as an example. Look at his personal finances. He's a plumber or something. Okay, so he's doing pretty well. He's worth $2 million. Lives in Portland or something. He's got a little plumbing or tiling business or something. $2 million, not bad. So you go, okay, I don't know what the housing is like in in Oregon. Say the house is worth $1.2 million and then he's got a rental property or something. It's like legitimately doing well. That's great. He's not your oppressor because he owns a home and a rental property and his own business, you idiot. Would you like to look at the above him? Because there's actually quite a lot of room. No, we're not going to look at the 1%. We're going to look at like everything below the 1%. Okay. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. This is as careful as I can make it. I'm going to put the first original one on Odyssey and Bit Chute because I was not careful enough on that one. Like, comment, subscribe, support channel if you wish, but join the channel here over at Subscribestar or buy me a coffee. Thanks to everyone who has gone over there, and I will see you guys all next episode.